coaches, we've started acting upon the same affordances that we were observing in practices after what, like a month and a half? So we see something happen, we're saying things like hold at the same time. Then it's the same language. So hold, it's the same language every coach we're using at Lions. So it's like hold, recreate. So we're using the same terminology. And then even like the constraints we're seeing, like there was the 16s practice the other day, and I can't remember what it was, but we're like thinking and saying the same things, and that's what happens when you have the theory. And I think that's why the theory is important, because it allows you to coach in a different way when you're informed by what all this stuff is. How weird does this stuff look? Like, this isn't even the most extreme.
So
Daniel.
So a couple of the kids, right? Same thing with your hands back or not. They'll be catching, they'll be jump hopping, and then shooting as they land. But then I think it was the guy with NBA, so I don't know his name. He was shooting as he was going.
Yes.
So in that sense, like, as coaches, do you stop and say, all right, okay, one of you guys, or like maybe, is there a right or wrong way? Or
great point.
Like, in reality, for what I know,
sure.
I don't know. Like,
so great point. With DL, it's a really good question. We want them to actually do as much as they can. And so if they can actually explore and sometimes release it early and then release it late, that would actually be the best thing. So the basic idea of it is move as many different ways as you can. But what we want to avoid is doing a movement that is going to be completely irrelevant, like doing something like that.
Right.
That's not going to have any impact on shooting coordination.
I teach that stuff. I teach that.
Great.
I teach that.
Sure.
I teach that. You know what I'm saying? Different
so that's it. And all we're doing is we're doing it all at the same time.
Right.
So it's like, instead, what I'd say is what I used to do is I'd probably do all of this the same, like in extended reps. Like I'd say, like, do shoot 10 like this. Then after we're going to progress, and then we're going to do like 10, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Now we do it all at the same time. And that's probably the biggest difference with DL. It's kind of mixing it all in one go so that they have to move differently every rep.
What's your name again?
Stan.
So Stan, is it like, okay, it's not working, so I'm going to change up my technique type of thing? Or is it is that kind of...
They can just keep exploring.
Keep exploring,
basically. Like, Frank, maybe you just use your leadership voice, because you came across DL in the summer, in the camp in Borgo Nero. Talk about your experience using DL as a player.
Well, it was definitely like a lot different. I remember I got in pairs and we did it like, it was like almost like horse, like you do like shots that you wouldn't really do in game. Like it's more focusing on like doing like shooting off balance, like a lot of things you don't notice when you're doing it, then it comes back later when you're actually like playing the games, I find. It's like now I warm up like shooting off like one leg and stuff and doing a lot of like DL shooting in my own time. But like, yeah, I think it's different, but like at first you don't get it, but then like after a while it works.
Because I guess even with the stuff you were doing, right? Like you were trying to shoot as you were going up to the side, but otherwise old guys were doing that. But in a way, you're kind of, you know what I mean? You're
Absolutely. So you know what? We could actually take that down. We could say like, all right, it's the same thing. Liam's task on the one leg, but the first shot you're going to shoot really early. Yeah. The second you're going to do it in the air, and the second you're going to do it after. So it's like max, so basically can they explore as much as possible? And the whole reason we're doing this, the science is it's called stochastic resonance. So the idea is that the variability, it's not an undesirable noise, but it's actually something that's strengthening their movement solutions so that they can just be a more adaptive performer. So we spoke about attractors. Once I finish, I'm going to come to you. Attractors are basically, it's not muscle memories, but we all have similar tendencies we're drawn to. Like Steph Curry, if you were to see him shoot 10 in a row right here, it would look similar. There was 1 on 0 spot shooting. The reason why is because we're all drawn to some stable coordinations. But sometimes these attractors are not conducive for performance, and that's why we see shooters shooting like at low rates. So the idea is, yes, if we're doing the using CLA, we could get them to self-organize through the CLA maybe into a different shooting coordination. But it might not be aggressive enough to give self-organization a big push to get them moving differently. This is how we do it. So the idea is we're not saying to them, all right, we're going to fix this, move this elbow here. We get them exploring as much as possible, and the idea is that they're naturally drawn to a different part of their solution space to shoot that fits their individual constraints, knowing that every player is different. That's kind of the rationale behind it.
Alex, can I
Build on
it
that,
really
absolutely.
quickly? What we're showing here is just an example, and then so the where you're using Stan as an example, right? If we recognize something within his shooting, we will change the DL task to try and remedy that. So if someone is always front rim, it will be, we want you to get as high of an arc as possible, or change your arc every time you shoot to try and remedy what we've recognized within the individual. So whilst we're showing with 6 here, it may be individualized within the DL task that we use based on what we see.
Would you also like say, okay, well, after a few reps, it's not really worked, let's move in some and then build back out?
Okay, great question too, really good question. We actually like changing the range continuously. And actually what we do, especially with younger players, we actually get them shooting NBA threes. We're doing NBA threes with our under 12s versus mid-range.
On what basket? Low?
It's a 10 foot, it's England. If we had a lower foot, we'd do it. But it's England, it's
We don't have even under 10, they play on 10 foot
It sucks. But they're 11, 12, so they can hit it. And the only reason we're doing that is because it's way more impactful for self-organization if they have to find a way to do that versus just shooting a shot that they're really comfortable with. So, but what we do with DL is constantly change range. So going from like NBA 3 to mid-range to FIBA 3, always different. And the reason why is because it's forcing greater adaptation. Just your energy transfer and everything. So like another example on Liam's point is maybe we see a player who is struggling getting power for their shot, energy transfer. So what we could do is, we could say, all right, you're gonna shoot one shot where you cannot bend whatsoever. We're gonna do this one now. Can't bend at all. The second shot, you can do a normal bend, and the third shot, you have to bend as vigorously as possible. Always changing range, always location. Change shooters and rebounders. Go.